Tokusatsu as a whole, while it started off as just being something that was live action and, you know, strictly special effects, it's kind of gone to its own route.
For me, it's all about the toys. When I was growing up, I was all about like collecting like in a series of toys or what have you with the figures, and like the fact that you can get the toys and they do what they do in the show is mind-blowing to me as an adult. If I had this stuff when I was a kid, my parents probably would have had to sell my sister.
If you like the stuff that you see in Hollywood, if you like the stuff that you see in Netflix right now, you know what? You're missing out on what's going on in Asia, especially Japan. They're creating amazing things, very innovative stuff. You will not have an entire lifetime to see what's going on there, but if you're entertained and you want something rare and unique, yeah, man, I mean, the sky's the limit over there.
Tokusatsu, the term literally means special filming. It's the way Japan describes their special effects. Tokusatsu, when you first think of the word, it starts off with Godzilla in like 1954 with the first Godzilla films.
Godzilla, which definitely popularized the idea of Tokusatsu, having a gentleman inside of a giant lizard suit tearing down gigantic sets of Tokyo right in front of people, you know.
They usually recreate cities, like they make like special dioramas sets with detailed buildings and even mountains, grass, trees, and even cars that are moving by itself. To have the fact that they are really fighting in a building, that when you're watching the show you're thinking, oh, they are really special superheroes or monsters that are fighting in my city, like in 3 blocks from me.
In American filming, when you guys see an actor, like something explodes off of their body, very often that's CGI. Currently in Tokusatsu, especially when it's Seiji, who has the most of the lead common writers, you'll actually see footage that is him with leads off of his body that's being, you know, blown up here, there, and everywhere. They're still jumping through fire. They're still doing all of the same special effects. Now it's getting a little more into CGI effects as well.
With Tokusatsu, we've just been able to make these elaborate, gigantic suits that have been able to, I don't know, it expands the mind. It tells such beautiful stories that, you know, and such incredible stories of heroes. And I don't know, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
My first Tokusatsu show on TV was Ultra 7 or Ultra 7. In Peru it was named in Spanish Ultra Siete. It was 1977 when it was the first time that I watched this show. It was very impressive because even though now people may say that it was too dark and not appropriate for children, we enjoyed it a lot, even though with the cliffhangers, you know, the 2-part episodes. Especially that one when Ultra 7 was crucified, we really lived it. Like, we were in my neighborhood, my friends, my childhood friends were like, oh, did you see Ultra 7 was crucified? Oh my god, yeah! Oh, but he was killed, wasn't he? And they were like, you know, living it.
An adaptation is when a company from another country takes a show from, let's say, Japan, and they remake it with their own actors. They could be American, they could be Latino, and they do the adaptation with their respective language. Power Rangers is a good example.
I started watching Tokusatsu like many of you before, like you're seeing Power Rangers. I was born the same year that Power Rangers was born, and after the year I was watching the show, but I also knew that there was like a Japanese counterpart, and then I discovered that usually Power Rangers is the adaptation from Super Sentai. And I was really curious, and I was start watching. I know Godzilla. I didn't know that Godzilla was Japanese and even was a Tokusatsu production. So it was really amazing to me to know that Godzilla, Power Rangers, everything was connected by such massive shows that has Tokusatsu.
If you've seen the Godzilla movies, you see monsters fighting in the city and destroying it. And these movies will come out every so often, every few years. Power Rangers does that on a daily basis. Every day you see superheroes fighting monsters, and everything ends up in a robot fighting a monster destroying the city. It's like the apocalypse in every episode for children. How can you not like that? I was a teenager in the 90s. I have already seen Star Wars and all these 1980s classic films. So I was over the whole sci-fi thing. I saw Power Rangers, I didn't think it was that special. But then I kept watching it and I realized why children loved it. Because it was the same thing I watched when I was their age. It was big, it was huge, it was apocalyptic on every episode. Every episode the world was going to end if the Rangers didn't destroy the monster. But before that they destroyed the city. You know? What's there not to like?
I had Mighty Morphin when I was a kid, but I didn't really have something that was of, the kind of aged with me, something that was like mature, but kept these, people in suits fighting against monsters. And I loved that. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And from there, it went into Gaim, into so many other Kamen Rider series. And now I've gone into Super Sentai, Metal Heroes. Ultraman is still the one I really need to step into.
Kamen Rider is like one of my favorites because I love the variety in the storyline. Like I got into Kamen Rider from Kamen Rider Kiva, and it was vampires and movie monsters, which is something that's always been close to my heart. And even though they were kind of stained glass and it was weird at the time, it was intense storyline and it was something that just kind of was a lot of fun. But for the most part, it's stories that stay pretty solid and continue on through the ways. And I personally enjoy that it changes every year, that I have an entire new story to follow, that I'm not trying to follow one continuum from 1971 and then trying to run all the way back up to 2019 to keep up.
Everything has to go at some point. Everything gets so overdone that they have to do something else at some point, but I don't think in my lifetime I'll see the end of it.
I think art, like as it goes with anything film-wise, is very translucent and can be very changing. I see Kamen Rider and Super Sentai as we know it being completely different in the next decade, if not the next 20 years. I don't think it's an art form that's going to die, especially in a country like Japan where they are very, very true to their roots and they still have like kabuki theaters where we have one theater that I know of that does like traditional style Shakespeare. They still have dozens in multiple cities, and so I don't think it's going to die out. I think it's going to be changed very bigly.
I don't really know if they're losing interest, more so if they're just waiting for the next thing to come, because I really feel like, nothing really ends. It just kind of evolves in its own way. Now we have CGI in the representation of much larger things, or in Ultraman's case, they still keep to having regular-sized men in suits fighting in large handmade cities and stuff. And I love that it's still a thing, that there's still love for it. It's despite something that it's at its age where we do have things where we can make them seem believable almost. We still go with the traditional way, and I think that's pretty cool.
I'm from Tokusen, Tokusatsu Association. We are a fan club in Peru that really promotes Tokusatsu in our country. We do like special events, we do cosplay. The really most special thing about us is that when we do like dances or even interact with the people, you can see like special kids seeing us and believing that we are superheroes, and that's like the most special thing that we have as a fan club.
Well, ever since I found out about Kamen Rider, I've kind of made it my mission to talk about it, try to get my friends aware of it, you know. And it started out as word of mouth, but once John had actually come up with the idea of doing panels at conventions, in just us talking about Kamen Rider, what it is, and kind of just getting more people involved so that way we can have more people to talk to about this, you know?
We've literally seen people come up to us and say, I've never heard of this before, but because of this panel, I'm gonna go watch it. And so I have hands-on proof that the fandom is growing.
Whenever there are fans like me, and I'll try to teach my children or any younger generation about this, I think and I'm positive that Tokusatsu will still be alive and well.
You have these stories of heroes, these people who are put into situations that are, you know, really out of their hands, but, you know, whether it be magical, technology, you know, the government or something giving you these powers, you're now able to do good. You're able to bring smiles to people, save them from their despair, you know, one of those things. And I think that that's such a great story that everyone needs heroes. Everyone needs heroes, no matter who you are.
No matter how old you are loving something, you just love it because you love it. It's good and it makes you feel great.
Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Godzilla, they are Tokusatsu productions who's gonna be always on the heart of the Japanese people. And if there are people who wants to still doing these productions, they're gonna keep going and going and going. I think that Tokusatsu is gonna still live on.
With Kamen Rider, Ultraman, Super Sentai, Metal Heroes, these are all different stories that so many people don't know about, and I think that they should.
我々は宇宙の彼方からずっと、そう、ずっと見守っている。